curiosity.
When she's not on the board, she cannot be here at the meeting. It's just from outside. Not, I did not know she was not.
I'm sorry, I thought I was able to I thought I was able to participate.
Can y'all hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Dr.
Yeah, I can.
Gotcha. It seems like the audio is coming in and out. I don't know if we're just, everybody's being quiet right now. Wait,
If the main group in the office is speaking, I can't hear them.
Yeah.
All right. Can everybody hear now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, everybody can hear. Let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Joe will begin the meeting as chairman, and so here he goes.
Okay, calling the meeting to order. Please note any comments by the public are welcome and can be emailed to publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. Also, please confirm if your identity and any tele and video conference participants, please identify themselves. If the sound is clear and audible to the public and all of those, we can proceed.
If everybody can hear, then let's just go ahead and rotate introductions.
Hi, my name is Wade Young. I'm on the board and I will be participating today.
And wait.
Judson Willard. Judson Willard, I'm on the board. I'll be participating today.
Kyle Schwab on the board participating today.
Lauren Davis on the board participating today.
Joshua Johnson on the board. I will be participating today.
I'm Patricia Wilton. I'm executive counsel to the board. I'll be available as needed.
I'm JACINTHA DUTHU Executive Staff Officer, and I'll be running the meeting today.
And I'm Vincent Collada, Executive Director, and here with you to help get things going and serve as an advisor to the committee.
So if y'all will kind of bear with me, I would like to kind of set a little bit of the history of what's happened and what brought us to this point. Several years ago, a group of sleep doctors and technicians were alarmed about entities providing less than appropriate care to patients with sleep problems. Dr. Bob Martinez of Lafayette was particularly frustrated with that, and he tried to find some way of addressing the situation, and there was no real avenue for this. So that led to several things happening. One was a group of us met. We came up with a policy for Medicare, and that was submitted to our Medicare carrier. That policy was the first to specify that providers should have special training or certification in the field of sleep medicine. That policy became the blueprint that was adopted throughout the country, and while modified a little bit, is still the main thing of governing our relationships with Medicare providers. In addition, we recognize the importance of the sleep technicians in providing care for us. And a group were able to obtain a licensing law, and we had a set of rules and regulations that were put in place. At that time, we thought that the KHEP program was going to be the main way of getting technicians. The Delgado School was going to be able to scale up and provide everybody with the techs that we needed. Unfortunately, Hurricane Katrina came in and upset all the plans. So we had, at that point, we had certain rules that required you to have licensed techs and physicians to provide the care, but we didn't have enough people to provide the service. And a few years later, Dr. Hales, one of the New Iberia sleep doctors, approached one of his friends and was able to have the legislation modified or amended to allow us to have different pathways into the licensure. So we would have KHEP schools plus the alternative pathway. And we did get together as a group, the advisory group, and we were able to modify the original rules and regulations. And that was submitted somewhere around 2018. Unfortunately, it got lost in different reasons and never got acted upon. So we've learned kind of recently that that was the case, and so we're trying to get things back on the pathway. We have, I think each of y'all should have a copy of the 2018 revisions that we suggested or submitted. And the changes were not a lot of wording, but significant in what they allowed us to do. And I think also we need to consider that a lot has happened since 2018. So we've had, in our field, many of the things that have occurred will continue to affect us. So home sleep studies have become a much greater part of our work. We've had telemedicine and other disruptive technologies may be coming in the future. With COVID, we've had, most of us were closed for some time. Now that we're reopening, there's a greater demand for night techs, and some centers are having particular difficulty obtaining help, and so they're asking to see what we can do to help. There are the school in Delgado is producing, we think, somewhere around 9 students per year. There will be a school starting up in Shreveport through Southern University, and that information will be a slide later on in the handouts. So I guess we need to think, what do we need to do to get techs, but what do we need to do to maintain the quality of the care that's provided to the public? And does this framework that we have here give us what we need to move forward? I would like to end my comments now and ask, are there any comments?
Any public comments? Just sent you an email.
Dr. Bordelon, can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is Dr. Schwab speaking. I have definitely experienced issues with the tech shortage. The question I was raising is in Texas, you can be a RST, from what I understand, a registered sleep tech. And it allows you to work for a period of, I believe, 2 years while you prepare for and take the registry, the RPSGT exam. But anyway, I'm wondering if in this alternative pathway, if that would exist for us. I do think we need something to fill the void while we wait on some of these schools to spin up. As you and I discussed, I've tried to hire people from the Delgado program. Several have been unable to pass the exam. A couple have gone into other fields. I've hired 2 sleep techs that won't work nights, so they're day working in my office. But to get a night tech right now in Baton Rouge has proved itself to be extremely difficult for several years.
Okay, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Dr. Schwab, if you're, would look at the rules that they sent us, section 3319, designation of examination, the RST is already in the policy. It's, when we say registered tech, to get a license as a registered tech, it can be the BRPT's registered polysomnographic technologist or the RST that is administered by the ABSM.
Well,
It's in the policy right
it's
now. I
good
don't know
to-
if it's been enacted upon, but it is there.
So, yeah, I would like that to be clear and acted upon is the main thing. I think we all have the same goals here, but sometimes when I'm reading these documents, it's kind of like an IRS document. I'm slightly confused by them and I don't want to miss steps. So if an RST is allowed, I think that would help a lot.
Yes, please.
First of all, let me say this to you, that one of the things that has happened during the emergency declaration that started back in March of 2020 and is continuing presently is that a lot of these rules were basically put aside, and we have the power to grant emergency permits for people coming in on a temporary basis to help out with sleep work in the state. Now, the people that want to stay in the state still have to go through the formal process because the emergency permits will disappear 90 days after the governor's ending of the emergency period, or that declaration of emergency time. And that's really to allow for the orderly transition of care away from these emergency permitted techs and other doctors. We're granting RT licenses, clinical labs, everything we license has got some emergency permits in it. And we do that so we can make sure that we get people working during this crisis. So if you've got somebody from Texas that has got a certificate in Texas, all they need to do is apply for one of our emergency permits. We can grant them the privilege of working in Louisiana, but that would disappear as soon as 90 days passes the end of the period of the emergency declaration. So what it can do is give somebody the time to get started working, get the application for permanent licensing process, and stay in the state if they want to. All right. Does that help you, Doc, in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, it does help, and that's definitely helpful. And I appreciate you sharing that. Long term, if this RST situation is clearly in our documents, then we can clarify that yes, we're passing this for a long-term solution. That would help me the most.
Yeah, I think we have it certified. I believe it's certified. That's what we're talking about.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you look at section 3307, which is the qualifications for a polysomnographic technologist license, it says in number 4, which is granted on the basis of written exam by one of these entities identified in section 3319. 3319 allows for both the BRPT exam and the ABSM exam. So not emergency permit, it should be that people with just the RST, according to these rules, can come in, apply for license, and as long as they meet all the other qualifications, get a license as a permanent, as a licensed technologist.
Yes, and all I'm saying is that the process that goes on to get that takes a little time.
Yeah.
We can generally put them to work within 2 weeks.
Yes.
under the emergency permitting process.
Okay. But like I said, not just somebody coming in from out of state. I mean, like, somebody who just graduated high school who wants to get into sleep as a career here in Louisiana, would they still apply through emergency permit first so they can jump in and get started?
They have to have a certificate or a license in another state. That's the first requirement. They
Okay,
have to be in good standing in that state and not have any disciplinary action. And that's really all we're checking for to grant them the emergency permit. But if
Okay.
they don't have either of those, they're not, or both of those, quite frankly, they won't be able to get. So you can't just graduate from high school. If you just graduated from your RT program and you got your license in, say, Alabama, and you want to come over here and help us out, that's going to be not a problem.
okay, so not going through an emergency permit. Let's say you get out of school, whatever KHEP program or online training classes you've done, and you apply for and you take the ABSM's RST exam and you pass, can you still apply through our regular licensing channels to get a licensed technologist who only has a RST?
Okay, it's my understanding that you all have, if you approve these rules, you're setting up a trainee site type of, so that person can come in as a trainee, work as a trainee for a finite period of time. If they can't get their final certification, then I think that's just 18 months, it's good.
Correct, yeah.
Yes. And that's the trainee section, but what's already in the rules, not anything that we're changing here today or that we suggested a couple of years ago, it's already in the qualifications saying that you can be an RST, which is a registered sleep technologist through the ABSM.
Yes,
Yeah. So,
but you cannot get licensed immediately. And so addressing the Dr. Baton Rouge's concern, he can bring that person in, get an emergency temporary permit, and we usually within 2 weeks get them to work, apply for the permanent license, and then get permanently licensed in Louisiana instead.
okay.
So, Wade, from what you're saying, the RST is already in the guidelines. It's already been approved. This isn't something we're having to vote on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in the revisions that we've submitted.
And then,
So if we approve this stuff today, it starts in the process.
yes,
Gotcha.
So another alternative, Dr. Davis and I were talking earlier, is don't forget that the respiratory therapists do have a other way to go.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. I have done that before. Right now, especially with the demand on respiratory therapists, it's very difficult to get one to come work as a sleep tech. But you're right, that's an alternative. This RST thing, I think, would be the biggest long-term solution that we could pass.
we can get it started if you all approve this today. Our legals will attack it next week, and we don't think we can get it to the board for August, but I think we can get it to the board for September. If they approve it, we notice it, and we get it through the process going and get it finished.
Now, I have a question. Has anything happened, legally that we have to do something different than what we were doing in 2018?
Just because it's stale and we went through the COVID stuff and everything else, I want to make sure that y'all are comfortable with what we did and make sure that no new member has a concern and get it done. And I get it. It got lost in the shuffle of changing attorneys, COVID and everything else, and I apologize on behalf of the agency for that. It's my fault, but we'll get it done if you approve it now.
Do we have any additional comments from members or from the public?
There's no public comments at this time.
Okay, my question is, under the technologist license, one of the changes we approved was being licensed as a technologist when you have a certified CPSGT from the Board of Polysomnographic Technologists, that's good for 3 years. My question is, as of right now, I have had several people call me because they're trying to do that online CE broker, and it's not allowing them to put in their license information because they don't have a poly license. They have something else because they're certified tech. Do we need to add in any changes as far as continuing education requirements for persons with just a certification, not a registered technologist?
First of all, right now, with the CE broker, we want you to tell us who you want to be able to do that, okay? It's another reason for the meeting, okay?
Yeah.
CE broker has come aboard since the issues that went on in 18. So understand that we need you to tell us who you want to be, A, able to submit, and B, what do you want as the requirement for it? We are trying to make everybody go away from mom and pop situations, okay? We're trying to make everybody do everything as a national certified CME or CE provider, okay? So if they're not a nationally certified CE provider, we prefer that you don't recommend them. But if you do, there's going to be more meetings for you because you're going to have to meet, this committee's going to have to meet and approve them.
Yeah.
And as we try to improve the care in the state, I think we need to go away from the mom and pop things and go to national accreditations or the T. So if you tell us what type of license and what type of CME you want us to put forward and require, we will do it. Now, you may want to make that decision today. You may want to send me some stuff by email and I can assemble it.
We had submitted the list of kind of known entities like ASM, the AAST, BRPT, and then some other the state Sleep Society, LASM. And so we've already had, and I believe when I've talked to techs, most of the people have been able to provide the CME that they were getting. I haven't heard of anything that we needed to add to the list we already submitted.
All right, so just ABSM and LASM.
Oh, no,
There was a long list.
There's a long list, yeah, we had.
I was looking for it in my mail, but yeah, we have
Yeah.
a long list.
I'll have to find it.
Yeah,
Tell me why you want it to be so long. Are there that many national accreditations?
no, there were about 10, and there were things that are used, but the biggest was the ASM, AST, and then the third would be our state meeting. That's where most of them are. Some techs we're using online things like Philips or ResMed or
Now, as long as, again, Phillips, ResMed, Louisiana Association, if ABSM or ASM gives it to them, then it's ASM, AST, so you don't have to think about that.
right.
So again, that's what we're trying to sort it out.
So I think the list is already on the CE broker.
Right, we have that list now,
Yeah.
okay? And if
Yeah.
you're all comfortable with that list, that's fine, but now I understand you want to add a license type that's not on the list.
It's not the list of approved credit providers. All right, what I'm saying is, as a RPSGT, I have from the board a polysomnographic license. My number is poly whatever. Okay, I had no trouble with CE broker putting my license in and finding all the credits and everything I needed to do to get my renewal done. What I'm saying is, I work with some people who are certified techs. They are CPSGTs, and they don't have a poly license from the state board. All right, their license number is just 6 digits. All right, and when this guy tried to put in for CE broker, it did not recognize his license from the state board as a valid license number.
Okay, well, I'll have to look into it. It would be best if you would send me an email to me directly so I can look into his particular case.
You okay?
I have one case like that, it's usually something that's in the interaction between Sea Broker and the applicant. But to make sure I got the acronyms correct, he is a CPSGT.
Yes.
Okay, and he does not have a poly license.
No. Because the CPSGT credential is only valid for 3 years. After 3 years, they must take the RPSGT exam. So
So
as
then
far as, yes, sir?
he would have to get a trainee's permit or like,
And that would be good for 18 months.
yeah.
Okay, but what I'm saying is the rules that we have set up, he's already passed the written exam, so he's got a license from the state, but it's not the poly license.
Yeah, and that one should only be good for 18 months. And then he needs to get licensed, right? The trainee permit's for 18 months.
But the trainee permit has never been approved yet. That's what we're voting on now to send him.
Yes, correct.
But right now he has 3 years, and what I need to do is I need to get details to address it, because this is the first complaint we've heard. And if you'll just send me details and tell him to contact me directly at my email address, we'll start figuring out what happened.
All right.
I'll tell you what happened because I don't know, but I can fix it when I get the information.
All right, I'll do that in a separate email.
Thank you. So is everybody comfortable with the rules that we promulgated? Is there any objection to anything else that's in here? Any other
No.
concern?
Nothing. Any comments?
Okay, the one thing I do want to clarify, under the new rules that we're setting forth for the trainees, the people who have not yet taken the written exam, and they're coming in to learn so they can get their clinical experience to sit for these exams, because all of these exams require some amount of clinical experience. We put forth as the requirements for a polysomnographic trainee permit that they shall have completed a entry-level certification exam, all right, which would be the CPSGT, all right, or a KHEP program, which would be the Delgado or Southern whenever they get up and running, or they have enrolled in an educational program approved by the board. This would be the A-step classes. My clarification is this A-step is a conjunction of both a 2-week hands-on course and then 26 online computer modules. So do they apply for the permit after their 2 weeks hands-on course? That way they can do the computer modules while they're getting experience? Or do they have to complete both the hands-on and the online course first before they can apply for the permit?
What does ASAP require?
A-step requirements to have completed the A-step course and be eligible to sit for your exam. It requires that you attend a 2-week hands-on course, none of which are offered here in Louisiana. They do have to go out of state for that. And there are 26 online computer modules. They are like 3.5, 4 hour long computer courses. So you can knock out 2 or 3 of those a day, all right? And then there's 9 months of hands-on clinical experience, which is why we put the trainee license as 18 months. That way, during those 18 months, they can get 9 hours of actual 9 months of hands-on clinical experience to be able to register and sit for their exam. So
the way it's written, and correct me if I'm wrong, it says they have to have completed ASAP.
no, it says has to be enrolled in a class.
So what do you want them to do? Tell me what you want them to do.
Well, I would like it to where once they've completed the hands-on 2-week course, to allow them to get the permit. That way they can work and get a job and be actually working. That way they can pay for and take the online computer courses while they're working.
All right, now let me ask you something. in that situation, do we build in enough supervision
Yes,
to protect the life, safety, and health of the public?
as a trainee tech, let me check, make sure it's wrote in here. But as a trainee permit, it should be in the rules that they are supervised by a registered tech. So you can't work alone as a trainee of any kind. If you have any kind of trainee permit, you must be accompanied all night long by a registered licensed tech.
All right, so
Have
as
like a
long as
full-fed
you're
clinic.
satisfied that that gives the protection to the life, safety, and welfare of the and health of the public, we can do it. I mean, that's what you're all here to tell us about. If we don't know,
I thought when we discussed it last time, we wanted them to have completed the program before they got the trainee.
that was my understanding, but if y'all wanted to, but again,
Yeah,
I don't care what you tell us to do. Ultimately, the board's gonna make the decision. But I think if you wanted to start the training after the 2 weeks course, then we'll write it in that way. If you
Yeah.
don't, you all make that decision and what you want us to do.
Okay. Like I say, I mean, the 26 online computer courses, it doesn't take a vast amount of time. I mean, you can knock them out, like I say, probably within a month or two. So the problem comes, getting the people in and getting them learning hands-on clinical experience. As long as you're supervised by a licensed and registered tech who will be working with you, I don't see where that would cause an issue as far as public safety is concerned, because you have the direct supervision, immediate and direct supervision while you're working as a trainee.
Is the phrase immediate on-site supervision what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay, good enough.
And not like, I'm working 2 states over and I'm, available by phone. You have to be physically with a licensed tech working and supervising you.
Okay.
Everybody good with that?
I'm fine with
Yes.
that.
I'm good with that, but how would we verify that?
You would have to have your licensed tech sign off on all their paperwork.
Right, but I'm saying, I guess we just, obviously, we should just use honor code because they could just be coming in the next day and signing it.
Well, they need
Or
to
at the
understand
end.
that they would be jeopardizing their license by doing that.
Yes.
Agree.
Does that
Oh,
mean
yeah.
they're gonna be in trouble?
And as much as I like people, I don't like you that much to risk my license.
Oh, same, but just making sure.
any public comments?
There are no public comments at this time.
Public comments have to be emailed in to be addressed at a later time.
No, we know, we read all of the public comments into the record during the meeting.
Oh, really?
If they come in after the meeting, we read them, we attach them, but if they come in, we read them in during the meeting. That's why we're checking all the stuff.
The only other topic that we should address at some point, I think our original thought was that home sleep studies needed to be set up by a registered or a licensed sleep tech. Clearly that's not what's being done, and with COVID, maybe not should be what should be done, but I think we probably need to address that at some point. The drop in a box to the patient's home sleep test, are we comfortable with that? Because I think our original thought was that we were not. But I know during COVID, even CPAPs and BiPAPs are being drop shipped. And so we need to be aware at some point, we need to address it and have a feeling on how we feel about that.
I guess we've all seen that there'll be some patients that can handle the drop ship stuff, but a lot of them don't. They'll come in and even when they got the results, nobody explained the results to them. So what we had hoped by the rules that we had set up, by having to have a licensed person assist the patient with the home study, that would eliminate a lot of the miscommunication and poor service that people are getting. So I don't particularly like the drop ship thing.
Yeah, I think maybe when COVID is over, we need to sit down and address what do we think is appropriate training for people with a home test. And I think actually the Respiratory Care Act has something about the fact that BiPAPs and CPAPs should be set up.
The laws, the current rules and laws say they have to do it, they can't do it by the stuff. We've sent out letters, we've had complaints, we've dealt with the complaints, but if we don't, we are hamstrung by the legislature. If we don't get a complaint about this, we can't do anything about it.
So this
We've
is
sent
like,
out letters in the past. to do
so
that.
this is setting up home studies and equipment? Like,
Yeah, I mean, if y'all have determined that home study is something that should be done by a tech, we honored that, we sent out letters.
yeah,
We're continuing to do it, we've got no complaints, but if without a
I guess
complaint,
everybody gets kind of overwhelmed by it, yeah.
So what about out of state, like, so if there's a company that's based out of state and is shipping home sleep equipment into Louisiana to patients, do we have,
if you give us a complaint, we will address it and advise them to stop or whatever we need to do based upon what the complaint is and the action that's done.
We have set out, I know in the past, we've contacted insurance companies that wanted to drop ship, and we said, it's the policy in Louisiana is that you have to have a licensed person that assists with the setup and not to do the drop ship, but that,
and like I'm saying, this is probably not the time frame to be worrying about that, but it should be on our agenda at some
Yeah.
point when things settle down again.
But at the present time, if you approve these rules, between the rules and the law that are currently in force, that will be enforced, they do not provide for them to drop ship them and not have proper education of the equipment and everything else. It's all supposed to be set up by registered technicians,
awesome.
licensed technicians, I should say.
Did the fee change? I guess I saw that we had is it 100?
We haven't changed any fees yet.
They may be changing.
Well, like everything else, we've not had a rate increase in about 15 years, so the cost of doing everything goes up.
Yeah.
One of the things you probably will see very shortly is we're gonna be having to take up the state's policy of collecting the credit card fees for your license renewal.
Okay.
That's probably the first thing you'll see. It's not gonna be a license fee change.
That's everywhere, yeah.
So as it stands now, the training fee is $100 for initial and then $50 for the 6-month renewal to finish off the 18 months.
Any comments?
I'm good with that.
No, sir, no public comments at this time.
How about our legal? Would she have anything that she feels?
Ms. Wilton, anything you want to share with us at this time?
No, it all sounds good. About the drop shipping and the out-of-state companies, when I logged into the meeting today, I heard you having a brief conversation about antitrust implications, and that might have to be something that we consider when we address more fulsome rules about those types of operations. But other than that, I think everything y'all are talking about so far is well within the law and right on track.
Okay. I appreciate that.
All right, so if you all would move to approve this document that we've circulated in advance, we've been discussing, then Ms. Wilton's gonna take it, pass it through the legal lens and make sure everything's proper. And then we'll send it on to the board and then we'll start the process.
Do we have a motion to approve
Yes,
I move to approve.
so it's a move to approve the
Proposed rule.
the proposed rules and regulation as revised?
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Justin, are you opposed or you're in favor?
No, that was a late in favor. Sorry.
Okay. Any, that's it? We're good? The motion carries?
Okay.
I did want to put on the screen the information for the Freeport School, and that's through Southern University and Freeport. Jacinta, could you bring that up for us? So that's, Mr. Wiggins is the head of the program, and his contact information is there. If you can't see it, I'll get in touch with me and I'll get it to you.
Everybody should have gotten this in their Dropbox. Did everybody go to their Dropbox to see this? This is what we sent everybody in your Dropbox.
Didn't know I had a Dropbox.
Okay, you got a link to a Dropbox for the meeting, okay? You can read all of this in the Dropbox link. And I know sometimes we don't get it clear enough, but with this electronic meeting technology, we can continue to do this for even the public meetings until such time that the governor ends the emergency declaration or somebody in the legislature passes a law to allow it. It's not likely it's going to happen, but nonetheless, we can continue to do this. But we have made sure that all of you got all of those documents that we've been looking at, and it comes to you in an email with a link to the Dropbox, and a link to the meeting.
Do we have any additional business?
I would just say, I hope everyone stays safe.
Gets vaccinated? Any public comments?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Have a good day, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Everybody.